To do this exercise number 2. Now, this exercise number 2 is creating a class called util, and then we have average of two integers, average of 3, average of 4 integers, and then we have this multi-concat and multi-concat, which is like other that concatenates text. We're going to see each one of them, but let's just start with the project now. I'm going to create a new project, call it week 13 exercise 2. Finish. Now I'm going to create this new class called util or utils, and in that one I just need to have a method called average that accepts two integer numbers and returns their average. Oh, every time you see returns, it doesn't mean display, so we don't need to display unless it's mentioned we need to display something. So returning means just need to make a public. It returns what? A floating point. A floating point is a double or a float. So it's up to you. You can choose double or float, which will do. So I'll choose double for the convenience. And then I have average, that's the name. And it takes two integer numbers because that's what it requires. So n1 and then int2. Now it's kind of simple. What should I do now? Because it's double, I'll just return n1 plus n2 divided by 2. Right? No. Because this is going to take only n2 and divide by 2, and then it will add to that this n1. So this is not going to be working, giving me the average. And if I'd like to convince you, what I'm going to do is use that class by just saying this utils. I need to create a new object from utils. U equal new utils. And then basically what I'm going to do is this, maybe rename that to make it utils instead of just u. So notice that the lowercase is different from the capital letter, so it's not, I don't have the confusion. Now utils.average is going to return a number. What average of 1 and 2 should be 1.5, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 and divide it by 2, which is going to be 1, and then it will add 1 to 1, that's 2. So that's what I'm going to get. And this 2 is going to be stored into the double, that's why I'm seeing 2.0. Not stored, it's going to be returned as a double. So it's very important to not get confused with the priority of things, and this will do, right? This is okay, everybody? No, it's not. Check this. The average of 1 and 2 is not 1. Exactly. So don't get the confusion. This is just an int divided by an int, which means that the result is going to be int, and that int is going to be returned and converted to a double. That's why I have 1 that is converted to a double, 1.0. So don't forget that you have to also make one of them to be a double. So it's easy to make it 2.0, or you can just make one of them to be double by doing this casting. If you do this double also, just one of them to be double is going to be enough, because everything is going to be double now. Now I just made n1 double and the rest is going to be double. So if I run this, I'm going to see 1.5. But if you don't want to type a lot of text, just take this, make it 2.0, and then that's it. Now this is the average for two numbers. For 3 numbers it's mainly the same thing, plus I just need to have a third variable, and then plus n3 and divide by 3. Don't need to forget that. And for the fourth, just do this, copy and paste, make it 4, and then I have, oh no, this is a plus n4 and divided by 4.
Is it correct to use average.length?
Average.length? What do you mean average.length?
Instead of changing the number.
Yes. But there's no length. Length works with an array. This is not an array. So we don't get this average. This is a method, not an array. So you cannot do that. You can do average dot length. Yes.
This one, double Y didn't use double inside the perimeter.
Here, because the question said that this average should accept 4 integer parameters. So the requirement was the int. If this was not mentioned, just accept 4 parameters, did not mention data type, then you can use a double and you don't have to care about the 2.0. Yeah. Yes.
We have like a public int average, then inside the
Public int average?
yes, and then we have an
No, if you have an int average and this one is double, sorry? It's not going to work this way because you cannot, this is a double, you cannot return an int. While having a double need to be converted to int. What you would like to do then, you'd like to convert that to something like this. So now by converting, you take all these things and then you convert them to an int. Then this is going to be okay. So notice the parentheses is that I put everything, all the result of this formula is going to be a double. Then I convert it to an int. This is I do this typecasting. Then I can return it as an int. Okay. These questions are important. Just keep asking. As long as you have a question, just don't keep it for you. Now I'd like to write this multi-concat method that takes a string and an integer as a parameter, and then it returns a string that consists of the string parameter concatenated with itself, count times, which is the number of times that was repeated, where count is the integer parameter. For example, if the parameter values are high and 4, the return value is a text that contains high 4 times. High, 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 high. And we would like to return the original string if the integer parameter is less than 2. So now maybe let's just do something like this. We have public. This one returns a string. It's called multi-concat, and it takes 2 arguments. A string that is a text, and then a number. There is this count. And then what we'd like to do is to return something. Well, there was something that says us that if the number is less than 2, what we need to return the original string if the integer number is less than 2. So I'm going to just return the text itself. Else I need to do some kind of things. So how can I do that? Well, I am going to create a variable called result, and then I'm going to do something and I will return the result. But what am I going to do in between? I need to do something to add to that result the text itself. Well, how many times I need to add? Well, depending on what's the number here. So basically what I need to do is a for loop, less than count, and then what I'm going to do is that this result is going to be the result plus the text, because I'm just going to add the text 4 times. That's what I'd like to do. So I start from 0 until less than 4, which means when I is 0 I'm going to get in, when I is 1 and then 2 and then 3. So it means I repeat it 4 times. And then when I'm repeating 4 times, I'm just adding the text to this result 4 times, which is going to give me, if the text was high, it will give me high, 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 high 4 times. Now I have a problem with this thing. It says me variable result might not have been initialized. Because basically this thing means that look at the result, look at what's inside of it, and then add the text to it. That's what this means. That's why I had this error. Well, this is just a shortcut of what I had before. So now result has not been initialized. Well, this is a text, so I cannot put anything. But if I'd like to put like the 0, if I'm doing a sum, the 0 was convenient. If I was doing a multiplication with numbers, the 1 was convenient. But for a text, the empty string, not even a space, because if you put a space, the space will be there. But this is just a text that is empty. It's the equivalent of 0 for a number when you do a sum. If you do a sum with 0, it doesn't change the number. If you do a concatenation, which is an addition of text, with an empty text, it doesn't do anything. But this is what we'd like to do. So now doing so, we're going to be able to have this thing. And now what I'm going to do is, let me call this concat, multi-concat. And the text, let's put it as high, and then we repeat 4 times and see if it's going to work. And it does. Let's try with the maybe a smaller number, or let's try for 3, for example, or 2. If I make it 2, it should be 2. And what if I put 1? Because this is less than 2, it should just return high. Alright? So that's the one. So this is what it does. Okay. Now the overloaded method of this multi-concat is the one that does not have an integer. So if the integer parameter is not provided, the method returns the string concatenated with itself. For example, if the parameter is test, then the return value is test. So it just returns the text concatenated to itself. So this means that I'm just going to create this. Maybe I just copy this, and I'm just going to remove this count and just keep the text only. And now what I'm going to do, there's one straightforward thing to do, is just to return text plus text. So if I just give a number, just the text without the number, it's going to return the text concatenated with itself. And if I give some numbers, then this is going to be repeated this number of times. So I have 2, 3, and this is 3 again, so that's 6. Well, the purpose of this whole thing is just to be able to see the advantage of and to implement the different methods, and then you overload them so you can see some different examples when overloading is making sense. So that's the purpose of that. Any questions?
Is there any exercise for concatenation that we take to the last class?
No, don't think so. No, we didn't take any exercise like this that does concatenations.